Stop.
sheet
You're
is
you're
lit.
live. You're live. You're doing that live right now.
And on the slitted sheet I sit. That's a tongue twister from
Here's one. Here's one. Have you ever
it's a
done
tongue
this?
twister from Steve Martin.
I don't know that one, but here's my favorite tongue twister. Okay.
Okay.
Black bug's blood 3 times fast. So I'll show you that I can do it. Black bug's
Okay.
blood. Black bug's blood. Black bug's blood. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go.
Bugs blood. Blah, blah, blah. Can't do it.
Dr. Melodie Cook. Good morning.
Good morning.
Do you prefer being Melodie Cook or Dr. Melodie Cook?
Melodie. Yeah, don't doctor me. The only time I use my honorific is when I'm signing up for stuff or when I'm hoping for an upgrade on the flight.
Or if you're in a panicky situation and everyone's running to a shelter, you say, I'm a doctor.
Yeah, because I don't want them to know on the plane and go, is there a doctor? Oh,
Yeah,
Dr.
right.
Cook, and someone's sick. And, I'm like, well, if you have an applied linguistics problem.
That's right. I can't do CPR.
Otherwise, just, go over there and take your clothes off.
Sure. Probably the cabin attendant probably knows more than me about CPR. Thank you very much. This has been about a couple years in the making, getting you out here and talking to you on a live stream for a conversation. Let's see. That was for the podcast, and that didn't develop as Dave and I wanted it to. But I first met you. I first met you on OTJ, and then when I was still just a naive young buck and didn't really know how these things work, but you introduced me to the wild world of being asked to do presentations. I'd never been asked to do a presentation before. Thank you very much. You're the very first one who ever asked me to.
You're welcome.
And that went, I think, pretty well. It was the very first time, I think Phil had done a webinar.
Yes, that was our first, actually, that was our first webinar. When I asked Phil to set it up as a regular meeting, and he said, look, I want to try this webinar thing. And I said, yeah, sure, go for it. So he did. And it was amazing. It ended up, he's now like the JALT tech webinar guy. It was a win-win for many.
It was.
So actually, because OTJ helped me so much, when our school went online and I didn't know anything, and OTJ pretty much gave me everything I needed. And so I thought, and at the same time I had been program chair for Niigata JALT, and I thought, we haven't had any meetings. We were kind of like, oh, we can have a face-to-face meeting. And then I thought, but wait, we can do something online. So then I started kind of cherry picking from OTJ. So we had different speakers on different topics. We had a panel of 5 people talking about, doing online teaching with children. Of course, we started with your talk, which was best practices for Zoom. And we had talks on assessment, online assessment. We kind of went through the semester. And, what would people be doing now? Let's have a talk about that. What would people be doing now? And it was amazing. We realized that, I think we had something like 60 countries represented. We were attracting people from all over the world to our webinars. So that was just amazing. And really it was Phil's initiative to do that, because he said, can I try this? And I'm like, yeah, go ahead.
Well, if he had asked me, I'd go, what is it? Because I didn't even know what a webinar was. Just very briefly, I thought, oh, that's kind of different, but I don't know what that was. And
well, he was also kind of the tech guy at his school. So I think he wanted to try it out to use there as well. So he was experimenting with lots of different things, and
a lot of people will.
Sure, great, yeah.
A lot of people will say that the room hosting done at the JALT 2020 National Conference, that a lot of people mention my name with that, but a lot of people forget just how important I don't want to even say the rest of the team, but people like Jenny and Phil. Phil has a nickname, right? Because he's such a techie guy with all that stuff.
What is it?
His nickname is Central Command, or we call him CENTCOM. Have you ever seen his setup?
Yes, I have.
Physically?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome
it's
guy.
Amazing. In fact, our chapter voted to give him, you know, another screen. I mean, that before then, but we were like, you know, how many more do you need?
Don't
Here,
ask him that. He'll just
well,
keep.
we weren't spending money because, you know, we weren't having, well, we were spending a little, but, you know, we didn't have to pay for transportation and hotels for guest speakers. So, you know, we thought, heck, buy this guy another monitor.
Speaking of which, your experience as a membership chair
Yes.
for OTJtv,
Mm.
you know, it's been a couple of years into the
I
pandemic
wasn't
now.
membership chair for OTJtv. I was program chair.
I'm sorry, that's right. You were yeah, okay. So
Yeah.
program chair for OTJtv.
Yeah.
Now that we're able to sort of like take a deep breath into, you know, the third year of the pandemic, what have you observed going into 2020, coming out of 2020, that's kind of changed in the way that you approach or would approach program chair duties?
Yes, yes. Well, I'm not program chair any longer, but it's just now that everybody's used to doing online events, that it's just expanded our range. And in a way, it's made the use of our grants more flexible. So we don't have to, you know, we can have people come and give a talk online. We don't have to bring the people in. It's always nice to bring the people in, of course, but we can have some events in face-to-face and we can have some events online. And it's just expanded what we can do. And not only that, the people are coming, like I said, they're coming from all over the world to events. So I was just checking, I'm a director of membership for JOLT, and I was asked to, we hold a function every month called ZPD. It's a Zoom for Professional Development, which was an initiative of the president, Don Lukovich. And I host a room, it's called Prospective and New Member Orientation. And I was just anecdotally, I could see like people were saying, okay, I'm going to sign up. And I watched my first ever meeting, I watched a group of 5 people sign up. And I was, not only did they sign up a group membership, one person took charge. And I think Carmen is here today. She was the
right there.
take charge person. And she invited some people, and actually not only did they join JOLT, but I persuaded them to take on active roles in JOLT, which was brilliant. Yeah. So this is, you know, we've just opened things up. It's opened up amazingly. And I have the list of, you know, for March, we have 27, we got 27 new members in March. And 2 of them had come to the ZPD, but people are coming to other events. And it's not just people in Japan. We're getting people from all over the world coming to our events and wanting to be members of JOLT.
What's the makeup of JOLT right now? I mean, I don't know if you have numbers off the top of your head, but roughly in country, what is the JOLT membership? And now that you're sort of bringing in more new people into JOLT membership wise, what are the numbers?
Well, I mean, it's still mostly people who are in Japan. I'd say it's a minority of people who are not in Japan. But, you know, we have up over 2,000 members. And there was a little bit of, you know, when the pandemic started and people weren't meeting face to face, a lot of people kind of let their memberships lapse. But now as we're getting back to normal, they're coming back, which is really good. Because we were kind of bleeding out members. And, you know, one of my jobs as director of membership is to talk with the membership chairs and work on strategies for, you know, keeping the members we have and also attracting new members. So, but, you know, initiatives like ZPD and also groups holding online events. And, you know, we have really good publicity. Bill Pello is the publicity chair, and he does a fantastic job of advertising our events. He collects the new member lists, and he sends, and people who come to the ZPD, and he contacts them and, you know, come back and come to another event. And people are coming, and it's turned, I mean, it's professional development, and there is that too, but there are people who are longtime members of JALT who are coming to socialize.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's also a networking event and social event.
I
Yeah.
found that that was, as I talked to more people coming to the OTJ events that we were doing in 2020, I was almost a little bit surprised that most, or not most, but a good number of people were there as much for the social factor as it was for the information factor. And I thought,
Yes.
okay, well, if that's the case, then we have
Yeah.
to cater to that.
Well, this is the kind of thing we miss from the face-to-face conference, because the face-to-face conferences were that. They were, you know, informational and social events. But now, you know, people can't go to conferences until, well, we're hoping to have the PanSig face-to-face, and we're hoping to have the, I think, don't quote me on that, we're hoping to have the national conference face-to-face or hybrid at least.
Mm,
And we're learning, you know, we're all
exactly.
learning about the technologies. We had our first hybrid EBM executive board meeting, and it worked out. You know, we figured out ways to do it, and the technology, we got the technology we needed to do it. So, you know, it's been a learning curve for everybody, but I think we've done amazingly well. And there have been, as I said, the benefit is that we have a wider reach.
The I don't need you to tell me anything that's like, you know, internal discussions within JALT right now, but the nature of the pandemic is that, as you were saying, because of Zoom and the reach of digital communications, makes it easier for people to come from other countries to watch this stuff. But as we come out of the pandemic, do you think there'll be a little bit of a change in terms of how people will see the internationalization of these PD events, or that PD events like TESOL or IATEFL will start to think, oh, we should probably go back to face and turn off, you know, those live streams?
Yeah, no, I think, you know, when you have a wider reach, if you're getting more people coming, I mean, the goal is to get as many people as possible to your conference. So I think, you know, there will be hybrid options from now on, because I mean, now it works. We know it works, and it's great if you don't have to worry about a hotel and a flight and all this. You might have to worry about your sleep cycle for a little bit. You know, if you're coming from another country that's, you know, morning when it's night, night when it's morning. If there's particular events you want to go to, you might have to, you know, stay up all night or something. But it's still cheaper than, you know, flying there and getting a hotel if you're concerned about your health.
It is,
So
but
it's
doesn't
a
that
cost saving and health, good for the health.
totally agree? But is that a concern for groups like JALT, that like the revenue that was coming in before from face-to-face attendance and the energy and
Yes,
the social
yes.
aspect of things will be missing?
Well, that's true. It dropped off a little bit, but it's picked up again because, you know, the face-to-face, we can still, of course, we have to charge for the conference. And another thing is that we're encouraging, you know, a lot of the chapters were just like, oh, we're just going to have open events. And now we're encouraging the chapters to, you know, charge for their events to non-members. You know, and then again, that's the incentive to get more people to join JALT.
Good.
Yeah.
Just going back to an answer that I found kind of intriguing. Carmen, through her Get Up and Go, asked
Mhm.
people to actually actively participate. What are you expecting, or what are you needing from people who are coming in to JALT now when you
Yes,
say that?
fresh blood. We want your
Okay,
blood.
good start.
We
Okay,
want
I'm not going to get
your
into that. All right.
blood. No, what we want, we need a rejuvenation of JALT. You know, the membership, I took a survey last year. I'm going to be presenting it at the next conference, I hope, or then not the conference, but the next executive board meeting to
Yeah.
everyone.
Mhm.
But the average age is between 50 and 60. That's the average age of the people who took the questionnaire, and that was 400. That was 20% of the membership. So it's a good indication of what the membership looks like.
Mm.
So We really need more young people. And one thing that's fantastic, I mean, I'm working with Emily Chung and people who are Shalana White, people who are Carmen, people who are, you know, young. Some people are very new. Some people are ALTs, and getting them involved in the organization. They're not just you know, there are a lot of kind of passive members. There are people who are members of JALT to be members of something, but they don't kind of put themselves out there. And I'm encouraging these, when I meet these people, I'm encouraging to get on committees and do stuff right away, and which is great. So our first ZPD, I mean, you know, in a way, it's amazing. It's a year later, and I got all these people involved. I got Carmen involved, Shalana's been involved, Emily's involved, and moving through and doing lots of different things. So yes, what we want is more people coming in and more young people coming in. I'm an oldster. I don't use Twitter or Instagram. We need more people who are tech savvy. More of the younger people are using different kinds of media. We need these people to come in and help us. And this is a way we can, I hate to use the word grow as this kind of verb, but grow the organization, because I'm old fashioned in my language use. But this is how we can do it. You know, we need to keep up with the times. So we need people who can do that.
Sorry, I just wanted to do just a couple of technical things. For the people who would like to join us in the live stream, I have just put in the link to the Zoom room. Please come and join us if you'd like to ask Melodie your questions directly. There is, however, the live stream, and if you put your comments in there, I will try to get them up to Melodie as quickly as I can. For the people that are in the Zoom room, you can use chat for a bit until you know, the major part of the conversation with Melodie is done. But we already have a comment.
Zoom lipstick. Zoom lipstick.
Are you wearing lipstick on top of lipstick?
No, I'm wearing Zoom lipstick. I don't like to wear lipstick.
I thought you look particularly.
That's why I was doing this.
your lips look particularly luscious today. So
don't they? Don't they? It's the Zoom. Yeah.
Okay. So Susan Jones says, oh, but there are a bunch of comments in there.
Great.
And some of them are about hacking people. But Susan Jones came up with a very relevant point there. She says, a lot of the professional connections can be fostered via social media these days, and it doesn't seem worth it to pay annual fees for younger people. But actually, I just realized she had a comment before that. And so this is the comment before just that one. I see average age of membership in other professional organizations going way up too. I think they are not perceived as being as important as they used to be.
Well, this is why we are trying to make JALT more relevant. This is why we are trying to respond to the times. So, you know, I am very heavily invested in the organization, and there's still good reasons to be involved in the organization, especially for young people. Yes, I agree, Paul, but then there are a lot of, you know, ALTs, and there are a lot of young people coming in, and we're seeing more of a variety of ALTs. The perception of the jet who is here for a good time, not a long time, that's changed. And, you know, we want to help people. A lot of people decide, hey, as many of us did, we thought, oh, I'm coming to Japan for a year or a 3-year contract. And then we end up getting married and staying here for life. And wanting to move up through the system, JALT is a great help for that. You know, being active in JALT, networking with people. I've told people this, I wouldn't be where I am if it weren't for JALT. Okay. So when I was, you know, membership chair in JALT, I was program chair when I was in Nagasaki, and that's when I started really increasing my network, and my network went crazy. And then when I moved, when I was looking for a job in Niigata, somebody I knew from JALT was on the hiring committee. I didn't know this. And I had met him, and he'd knew about some of the work that I'd done. And so, you know, I think he was instrumental and getting me hired, and it was a tenured position.
Mm-hmm.
And because of my work in Jolt, because there's kind of the three things you have to do to move up in your career, right? You
Mm-hmm.
have to do your teaching, you have to do your research, and you have to do service. So I was doing the teaching, I was getting together with people and researching. I met people through Jolt. I was in graduate school. I was doing an online program through Macquarie. I met a bunch of people. I came to a Jolt meeting. I met them in person. Diane Nagatomo, everybody knows Diane. She's
Yep.
super famous. She's just retired this year.
Mm-hmm.
But Diane and I were in the same cohort. And I met her at a Jolt conference for the first time 6 months after we had already been sending our papers to each other to check before handing them in for assignments.
Mm-hmm.
So then I met her at Jolt, and then I met all the other people who were, Macquarie, a person came from Macquarie, and then I met all the other people in my cohort, and then I started to, move up because of that. When I graduated and I'm reading papers, and then someone said, "Hey, do you want to be on this unnamed test that's very common in Japan and work on that?" Somebody at a Jolt meeting, and I did that. And then I met more people from Jolt, and then they said, "Hey, you want to go and become editor of Jolt Journal?" And they flattered me into that. I was like, "Me? Are you kidding?" And
Why
so
not?
I was
Yeah, that's ironic.
associate editor for 2 years, and then editor for 2 years. So
Mm-hmm.
all these people in Jolt, I just kept meeting them everywhere, and they kept moving me up through the system. And so I got, where I want. Now, Paul, you just commented on
Shall I read that?
grants, on money, finances.
Mm-hmm.
But that's another thing that Jolt can give you. Jolt has grants for people who do not have research funds from their university or their institution. You can apply for money through Jolt. This is another benefit of being a member. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, people associate me a lot with OTJ, but because OTJ and Jolt's membership are completely overlapping,
Mm.
I have to say that if it wasn't for the opportunities that I had to speak through Jolt events as well as OTJ events, that I wouldn't have the opportunities that I did have. Want to go back to talking about Carmen and Emily and all the people that you mentioned that you brought in. Mentoring is a big thing that you do, right? Getting people.
Yeah, I guess so. I started a group, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago, called Chicks of Jolt, and it started off as just a social group for my friends. It was like, Mel's friends, let's get together the night before the conference starts. Let's dress up. It was just an excuse to get dressed up and then behave badly, get drunk and eat, and hang out in whatever city we were in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's grown from 12 people to, like, I don't know what we have now, 100 maybe. And we take over a place now. But another thing that we do, it's called Zat Chicks now. We changed the name. It's called Zat Chicks. And we do, if a job comes up, we will post it there. We might post it there before we post it publicly to everybody, to give each other a chance, because they're, at the university level, among the foreign teachers, it's 75% male, 25% female. And so we're trying to help each other, give each other a leg up. And also, I've always made my services available if any women want a paper read, or they want another pair of eyes on something.
Mm-hmm.
I will do that for them, because I want to help them. Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Just really quickly, Dave, are we looking at, Dave just sent us a screenshot of the people in the other, the live stream don't know what's going on in the Zoom room, but Dave just sent us a screenshot. And Dave, I'm assuming this is a screenshot of demographics on OTJ, right? And you can just say well, okay, I have to ask you to unmute here. So there you go, buddy. Can you unmute and just tell us what that was?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the current makeup of the group, which is.
I didn't see it.
That's OTJ. I'll share it, Melody.
I can share my main screen if you want.
No, it's okay. I got it.
There you go.
Yeah. So what? Go ahead, Dave.
Half and half. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit weighted towards males, but the average age seems to be what, 45 to 54. Yeah.
But I mean, it's kind of the same within the JOLT organization. It is about 50-50 in membership, but in terms of university positions, you know, it depends on where people are working. So there might be more women working with young children. There might be more women working, you know, being school owners. But at the university, at the university level, and I know about this because that's where I've always been, it is 75% male. So a lot of universities are trying to change this, like in their job postings on JREC, they're saying, you know, we are encouraging women to apply for these positions. So that's what I want to do. I want to help, you know, like Emily just got accepted to graduate school. Yay. And I offered to her, you know, I will proofread if you want. You know, I'm offering to proofread. You need another pair of eyes on something. Not just women though, because I've done this for young male colleagues that I know who are just starting as well. But I really want the numbers to change. I think the young people coming in, if they decide they want to stay in Japan, I want to help them. I want to show them this is what you got to do to move up. And, you know, you got to get your service in, join JOLT, be active. You've got to get the qualifications, get your MA, get your PhD, whatever. I'll help you reading papers and looking at your abstracts for presentations. And then, you know, and JOLT is a great place to learn about teaching.
I think one interesting statistic there that you can see, or everyone can see at this point, is that the younger you go towards 25 and 34, that the balance switches over. And a lot of the younger people that are coming in are women. Not a lot, more or most of the people coming in are women, which is, you know, if you look at, say, that higher demographic, 45 to 54, it's mostly men. So we might be seeing something as a bit of an interesting wave coming at us over the next 10 years or so.
I think so. Right. So
go.
I just want to say I'm hopeful.
Yeah. And I think
I'd like to note that if I may, and one of the main administrators of OTJ is a younger female from America, and that's exactly what I was thinking. I like, you know, hopefully, like, I'm an old man someday. You know, we're not going to be doing this. We want the younger generation to be doing this.
I mean, I really felt like I know some older women in academia, but I felt like I had no mentors nearby. And I remember going to a conference, I think it was in Malaysia, and the guest speakers were female and amazing. And it was like, oh, I want to be you. You know, it was, I hadn't seen that. Yeah.
We can go to that topic too, because I think I would like to hear personally what you have to say about that. But again, as I was asking about, you know, your role that you saw evolving over the pandemic as the program chair, in a more general sense, the last, say, decade or so, how have you seen the role of women changing, and the obstacles or the new pathways or the trailblazers as a woman?
Things have changed and things have not changed. I think because women still view themselves as you know, if they have families, they feel like they have to do caregiving. A lot of women still feel that even if they're full-time workers, they still have to do the housework and the childcare. So, you know, there still need to be some social changes in Japan, and they are slowly happening. You know, I of course I see with my foreign male colleagues, a lot of them are they're helping, yeah, or not helping, they're fulfilling their roles as parents. So there's a lot of balance there. But for some of that's usually the male female one. But when the when the foreign woman is working, she also might feel pressure that she has to do all the housework and everything too. So, we wrote a book. I was a co-editor on a book with Diane Nagatomo and Kathleen Brown, and some of the stories that we heard and were really hard. And also a chapter that Diane and I did for the new handbook for working at colleges and universities in Japan. One of the women, her story was like she felt like she was doing a half-assed job. It was chuto hampa with her family and with her job. Like she couldn't commit. She had so much on her plate, she couldn't commit fully to either. So, but I think this is changing in Japan, because I think a lot more people are thinking about this. I'm hoping that, the old men in the government will start to make some changes too, because there's still the idea that, even recently expressed that women's purpose is to make babies, and the government does not reflect the demographic of the country. And I think, if the work culture wasn't so crazy that you didn't have to, spend your nights at your job, and everybody could help out and they're more balanced, more people might be interested in having children, like Japanese people.
Do you feel that not just government still needs to make some advances, but academia itself? And has it made any advances in terms of?
I think academia is trying to, but it depends on the institution. Okay, so you have some traditional institutions that, remember, there was a few years ago, there was the female candidates and the test for medical school. They're screening out the female candidates. So you've got that's still happening, right? But then on the other hand, like my institution is fantastic. We're prefectural, and anyone can do anything in there in a good way. So I feel like, we have we're trying for balance. And the thing is, to be realistic, when we get the applications for jobs, when people are applying, they're mostly male candidates who are qualified. A lot of women will maybe delay graduate school. If they're single, they're free to do what they want. But if they're married and have children, they will often put off and then get their PhD later in life, like I did, like Diane did, and then move up in their career. But, that's the problem, like a lot of women don't feel like, I don't have time to do the research, or I don't have time to go to grad school. I can't make that commitment until my kids are older. So this is part of the issue.
There's a relevant comment again by Susan Jones. She always comes up with the great comments. I think we were talking about just this topic in general. She writes, I hear that. My husband retired last year and took on dinner duty. Suddenly, I could devote my whole attention to my work in the afternoons instead of constantly stressing over what to make for dinner. Huge change for me. And I think a lot of the steps that need to be taken don't have to be taken in huge legislative, revolutionary leaps. It's just about being more attuned to the idea that your wife needs a little bit of a hand, and she can't be both an academic and an absolute housewife all at the same time. Learn how to cook, guys.
There's a lot of pressure, I think, on women to do everything. And frankly, when I first moved to Niigata, we had just picked up my son, my adopted son. We just picked him up and we moved to Niigata. And I felt like guilty because I couldn't be home during the day because I had to work. My husband was home, but I still would be the first up in the morning and make breakfast for everybody. And then as soon as I got home from work, I made dinner. So my husband did cleaning and stuff. And but I felt I have to do all the cooking, and I have to do cleaning on the weekend. I have to, clean the whole house. And, he did lunch and he did the childcare. And then finally, I guess it was 2014 when I had my first issue with my heart and I crashed. And then he said to me, okay, I've been leaning on you too long. Now it's my turn. And he started taking over more of the duties.
That's great.
But he had just accepted that I was doing these things, and I felt pressure to do these things, and then
yeah, I think that's just
so right now he's working while we're on break. I'm doing all the cooking and stuff because I'm home. I'm doing my work from home, so there's no reason why I shouldn't do that stuff. But when I go back to work, next week, the balance is going to have to shift, and he's going to have to start doing more meals especially when I have meetings late in the day.
Okay,
yeah.
Good. By the way, just a really quick one. You're okay these days, with the heart and.
Oh yes,
good.
Yes, I feel fabulous. Yeah.
Good, and I'm glad, very glad. I'm more than glad to hear that. Just a quick one from Namiko Tsuruta. She makes a good point. Namiko writes, there are very few university presidents in Japan who are women. And that needs to change. I think just stuff like that is just so easy. There are qualified women out there, and I know that you want to hire people that but can't you take a little bit of a risk? These women are out there and they're deans and actually, what is, do you know the number or the status of like women even becoming department heads and deans?
No, I don't. But in fact, our dean right now is female.
Yeah, that's good.
And the vice dean, or whatever you call him, he's foreign.
Okay, that's
cool.
good.
That's cool too. My Japanese isn't good enough. I'm sure had it been, I might have been considered for that kind of thing, or maybe not. But yeah, it's I think that it might seem like there are a lot of qualified women, but now, you also have to have a very high level of Japanese. That's hard. For me, it was study for, level 1 of the JLPT or get a PhD, and I chose PhD.
Right.
Which was a good move because, I got where I am, but yeah, there's a lot of things. And I think as long as women are still expected to carry the burden. Now, what's happening is, as you know, in Japan, a lot of young women are saying, okay, I'm not going to get married. I'm not going to have a family. I'm going to focus on my career. So maybe more Japanese women will start moving up through the system.
Hope so. But I still think, though, and I don't know what you think about it. I still think, of course, the whole idea of getting a PhD, absolutely important, especially going through academics, and maybe want to go home. You want to take something home with you. And maybe you think that, or you might think, yeah, but if I study Japanese, it's going to be handy in Japan, but I can't take that home. But I see a lot of people who have been around as long as I have, or as long as, Dave or you have. And I wonder where their positions would be if they were actually able to speak Japanese. So it's a tough choice, right? Learning the language.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see here. I got a couple of links from, let's see, that's Adam and from Chiuki. Thank you very much. We'll take a look at them a little bit later. And a few other comments in the Zoom room. But I don't know when you want to open up the Zoom room for questions, Melody, and invite people to bring stuff.
Have we talked about all the topics you wanted to talk about?
Not quite, but I thought maybe
talk about all your topics and
okay.
then open it up.
Speaking of the books that you wrote with Diane, do you have any books you want to plug right now? Just give yourself a shameless plug for all the things.
Sure. Unfortunately,
show us your wares.
I don't have them nearby. I don't know what. I think I brought them to my office, so they're not here.
Oh no!
Okay. Okay, but there's a nice one on intercultural families and schooling in Japan.
Is that the title?
Something like that. Yeah. I
Okay,
did
so
that
that's
with
good stuff.
Louise Taka, and I'm very proud of that.
Okay.
And yes, the one narratives from our quarter. This is the one about women working at the university level in Japan, and all
Mhm.
the stories are, you know, what women have overcome. You know, they're all stories of, I had this in my way, and this is what I did, and this is how I overcome it, which is great.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay.
I'm a series editor, so I look at other things that people are doing too. The thing I have on my plate right now is I'm working with Alex Burke and Davy Young, where we are co-editing.
Is
Oh,
that it?
thank you. That's great. Yes, that's
Okay.
it. And that book, because Louise's husband was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer
Ooh.
when we started working on that. And of course, the late great Michelle Steele was a friend of ours. So we're not taking any royalties for that book. The
Oh.
royalties are going to pancreatic cancer research,
Oh, that's
and
lovely.
and the publisher is um topping up.
Sure.
So
Matching donations.
yes.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Might
Oh,
just because I know that it's not hard to change these descriptions, you might want to put that in the description for now. That you know, just a quick little note up here. This, you know, royalties go to pancreatic cancer. Just a
yeah.
suggestion. I'm just making a
Okay.
suggestion.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. And so that's one book. What other
Yeah.
book have we got
And the
shamelessly?
other book is narratives from our quarter.
Actually, let me see if that it.
There it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you look under everybody, if you just look under Melodie Cook, Amazon will throw
Fun.
like a ton of books at you.
Not a ton, but yeah.
On more than I wrote.
So this is another book, and then the one we're working on now with the one I'm working on now with Davy and Alex is it's called Barrier Free Learning in
Ah,
Japan.
right.
Yes, it's very timely, and we're actually we've collected the second drafts of most of the chapters from the authors. There's still more work to do, but we're hoping to have it out this year sometime. So the first part of the book is about kind of definitions and how, you know, learning disabilities and so on are conceived in Japan, and what are the different kinds of learning disabilities. And then the next part of the book is kind of case stories from different educators at different levels of schooling. So all across the spectrum, and then what, you know, what kinds of things they're doing and how those things are working in their classes. So I think it'd be useful.
I came into my opportunity to write a book in a very different way from most people. And I think, you know, you have a much wider perspective than I have in terms of actually getting your stuff out there to be published. What would you, as a perspective, again, a mentor, say to your mentees if they ask you, so how do I get started in chapter writing? How do I get started in book writing?
Well, look around, and when you see, you know, people will post calls for chapters for a book, for edited books, and just say yes. And you know, right, if you're familiar with the topic, send in your abstract, get someone to check it, and then, you know, if it's accepted, then write your chapter, get somebody to check it, and yeah. So I mean, the book I did with Louise, that was 5 years. We shopped it around here and there, and nobody got it. Nobody was like, yeah, they're like, is this research, is this stories, what is it? And when we send it to Canlin and Minard, they're like, yes, we get it, yes, go for it. And we were so happy. After 5 years we finally got it published. So don't give up, you know, you got to have a little bit of a thick skin. There's going to be rejection. Just learn from it and move on. Take the comments that you get from the reviewers, incorporate them, and send it somewhere else. And eventually you will get there. And then because of that book, and because of the other book about women in tertiary education, Joe Minard asked Diane and I to be series editors. So that door opened, and then we're like, okay. And so, yeah.
Did you find more success when you decided to go and say to Diane Nagatomo or Louise Kitaka, hey, you know, we're not getting any like traction with the old boys network. Let's do our own thing. Did you find that that's where you did most of your work?
No, we just want to do our own thing. And for me, what I'm interested, I'm like this about my research. I have a short attention span, to be honest. And I like to do a new thing. I want to do a thing that nobody's done. I like to do a seminal thing. And so this thing, nobody had written a book about, you know, raising your kids in Japan and going through the educational system. And then that led into, you know, there were 3 chapters. I had one of them in that book about getting your kids who are having learning issues through school. What can you do? So we have a chapter on, Suzanne Kamada wrote about her daughter who's deaf, and oh God, oh please forgive me, Eugene Ryan, his son with autism and having trouble getting his kid into an international school, which you think an international school would be more open, but he tried 15 schools and 13 of them said no. And then I wrote about, you know, what foster and adopted kids, you know, what's their makeup and what are their educational issues. So it was a natural thing when I saw Davy give a talk about policy and learning disability in Japan. And I thought, I got to get this guy and Alex, who I'd seen before. And I thought, I'm not an expert on this, but I know these 2 people and I got to get them together. And we came up with a really good premise for our book. We put out the call, we sent in the proposal, and they took it on the first try, which is really unusual. But we were solid, and I had experience of working on other books, so I knew how we could, you know, write it and pitch it. And so that'll be another one by Canlin and Meinard.
I hope someday that you and I talk about a book project together, actually, that we can still pull that one off. That would be fun. Before I talk about the one other topic that I have in mind, I want to tell people we're probably going to be going to an open room status. Excuse me if I sneeze uncontrollably in a few seconds. Open room status in just a couple seconds. So if you want to drop your questions into chat, just so that then you remember, or I at least see the order that they came in, please do so and get ready to open up your cameras for the people that are watching us on the live stream. I already put, it might have, I'll make sure that it's in there, but if you want to join us in the Zoom room, please join us. I will put the link in there soon, and then you can join us and ask the questions of Melodie yourself.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, that's
okay.
Good.
I find you have a very candid attitude towards fostering and the fact that you're an adoptive mother in Japan. And I find that really, really refreshing that, you know, there are people who are willing to talk about something. And I think a lot of people, especially Japanese people, would probably want to not, you know, talk about too much. And it's a great opportunity for people to actually feel that they can finally ask questions of people. But what makes you so candid about it? Why are you so willing to talk?
Well, I needed help when I first started this journey. I needed help, and I wanted to know what, you know, because I'm a minority in our local grassroots group because I'm the only foreigner or visible minority. And you know, we have a lot of resources that we can access, you know, in English. There are a lot more things being translated into Japanese, so sometimes my husband and I have the same books. But the way of thinking about adoption and fostering is really different. So I wanted to talk to other people who thought about it and were learning about it and could send me resources about it, you know, people who had more experience. And so I started a group with just a few people. It started as a Yahoo group, and now it's a Facebook group. And then I started, about that time, I started writing I met a few people that through there, and then I started writing some articles for Savvy Tokyo. That I don't know if you want to go and find that link there. If you look up Savvy Tokyo Melodie Cook, you'll get to my author page. I haven't written for them for a while because my kids are older and I want to respect their privacy. And it's,
yeah.
you know, but I wrote a lot about our first steps and what happened. And then I started talking to other people and telling their stories. And then, you know, if there were any movies about adoption, then I would watch them and then I would, you know, write a review. But it started off as just, you know, help me. But now we have over 200 members in the group. And people who are not only in Japan, but also overseas and thinking of adopting from Japan or coming to Japan and adopting or fostering. So it's amazing. I'm not an expert, but a lot of the other people can give each other advice, you know. So people who I would call my senpai are there, and we all share our experiences because every prefecture has different rules. So we talk about that too, and what kind of things can you do, and what is the house visit like, and how long is it going to take, and this kind of stuff. Yeah.
Damn, girl, you write a lot. That's only the first page. Holy
That's
crap.
only the first page. Yeah.
And I'm going to put this into the live stream for people to read at leisure, because I'm sure
Okay,
that
please
it's entertaining
do.
stuff. I will.
Yeah.
And I will also put this into the Zoom chat because that actually came up first. So that's the Zoom chat in the Zoom room. See, all of you people who are not in the Zoom room, you're missing out on so much. And now I will put this into the live stream. Don't mind me. I'm just talking to myself here. But what have you learned, or what's your takeaway in terms of what it is that people need if they're to try to sort of explore the idea that maybe what I want to do is actually adopt a child in Japan?
Yes. Well, adopting is more difficult. We have to think of the system differently than we think of the system in other countries where adoption and fostering are common. It's thought of differently here. I guess the main difference is that a lot of people don't want to take the children off their family register. So that's why a lot of foster kids, or a lot of kids are in care in institutions, because the parents don't necessarily trust other people to raise their kids or want other people to raise their kids. And many people do not want the kids off the registry, so that's why it's hard. Like only about 400 kids get adopted in a year.
400.
That's only 400. So we were super lucky because actually when we adopted our son from Nagasaki. When we were living in Nagasaki, that had like we would go to meetings and get statistics from different prefectures, and Nagasaki had the lowest rate of adoption. So we were lucky. We got the one kid, you know. But for fostering, yeah, a lot of people a lot of Japanese people, they don't know how to parent. Like a lot of kids go back to the institutions, they go out and then they go back because people don't realize they have to change their parenting. But one thing that's really good here is, thank you, David. A thing that's really good for foreign parents, I think, is that we have a lot of resources in English, and we're not afraid to advocate, like to go to the school and say, hey, you know, this is happening, but still we're going to hear, you know, weird things. I was talking about this last night at the OTJ social. There's some people who their parents don't accept it, the grandparents don't accept it. My in-laws initially were not in favor of it, but once it was a done deal, they're cool. I think, you know, we're more obvious. I mean, you know, people are going to look at my family, they're going to make assumptions. They're going to assume that my son is mixed race, and they're going to assume my daughter is, but not because of me. She's foster. Her birth parents, her biological parents are mixed race. But the kids on the inside are Japanese. And so,
yeah,
that's, you know, that's a thing. You have to realize they're not going to want to be different. But that's the same with a lot of kids who are growing up in mixed race families.
Mhm.
You know, the kids are, some kids are cool about it, and some kids don't, they don't want to stand out and they don't want to be different. And, you know, do I think Japan will ever allow dual citizenship? It's going to have to at some point. It still doesn't, but a lot of people carry 2 passports. They just don't say it's a don't ask, don't tell situation.
I think even before dual citizenship, I think we need to see progress in Japan's legislative and social attitudes towards even the allowance of multiculturalism within Japanese citizenship.
Yeah.
To
And
allow
not
people.
sorry, go ahead.
Just to allow people who are from, I don't know, like just basically, like, you remember that very first, I think he was from Finland, and he got Japanese citizenship, and he became a member of parliament, the Japanese Diet. And he was sort of spotlighted in the media just because he was not Japanese. Whereas, you know, in Canada, that's almost unthinkable that you're going to focus on this guy just because he's supposedly not.
But I think the thing that's hard, that's kind of hard for those of us who didn't grow up in a monoculture, that's a hard thing. You know, we just don't get it. But I think if you grow up in a, you know, I'm going to put it in quotation marks because there's lots of different kinds of Japanese people, but I think if you grow up in a monoculture, these things they just stand out. They're just mind blowing. Yeah. But I do think attitudes are changing because there's, I reviewed, there's a review of, I can't remember the name of the movie. You have to excuse my
No.
limited brain, but
you do not have the worst memory in this conversation. The worst memory in this conversation belongs to me.
Okay. There's a Japanese movie about, a child who is being fostered and just on the brink of being adopted by his foster parents in Japan. But his biological mother has been living in the town. They didn't know that she was there. And she's like, I want my son back. And so there's this kind of battle between the moms. So the foster mom goes to find out the journey of the biological mother, and finds out, you know, she was a single mother and she had a lot of trauma, and she had to, the only way she could protect her baby was to give up the baby. But she had been living in the town under a different name and watching the child grow up. But they come to an understanding that the child needs this whole family to grow up. And then when he becomes an adult, then he can have a relationship with his biological mother.
Right.
And it's a beautiful, heart-wrenching story, lots of tissues where everybody in the theater was sniffling and crying, you know. So I think these kinds of things are being picked up in the media in Japan.
Good.
My friend Ruth Craig Koguchi, she's one of my senpai. She encouraged us to foster after we adopted, and she's been on television a few times with her family. I think she's in Kumamoto, and she's been on TV. She's been featured with her family a few times to highlight, you know, not just Japanese families, but also mixed culture families.
Now you've been on OTJtv, not quite the same sort of reach, but still you've been on TV. Have you? It's been an hour. It's been a lovely hour, and I wanted to continue. But I want to ask you if it's okay that we continue a little bit.
We can continue. Yeah, absolutely.
Let's do that. Then please, the people in the live stream, continue to throw your comments in there. I have one comment from Alex. I'll read that now. Alex Burke says, it's exciting that the law has changed, allowing minors to be able to independently sign up for university at 18. This was a problem for people who were living in institutions whose parents would not let them go to university. So that's a comment from Alex. I would also now, if Melodie, if it's okay with you, invite people to turn on their cameras.
Hi, Julia. Yeah, come on out and ask your question.
And I'm going to allow people to unmute themselves if they want to ask questions. But if we start having a lot of questions, to invite people to raise their hand using the raise hand button, so that then I know who's going in order. Andrew, good morning. Good to see you again. You were here for a few moments early on. Let's see who's here. Mary and Carmen and David, if you still want to join, please open up your cameras. The people in the live stream, please join us if you'd like to join us. And,
thank you so much for coming, all you guys, by the way.
Is this like, do you remember your that surprise I pulled on you, the pineapple pizza group.
Yes.
Remember? That
Yes.
it was kind of like that, right?
Yeah.
Andrew, Mary, would you like, or Andrew, you have a question, go.
Actually, Melody, thank you very much for great, and Jose, thank you very much for this. I just got a few things. Wrote down a bunch of notes.
Okay.
Wow.
One at a time.
A selfless, it's not a plug for myself, but Melody, you're talking about publishing. Actually, the Okayama Jalt group on April 16th, Susan Makey and Teresa Stockwell have, they're going to talk about self-publishing and how to get a book through. And I think it's on Kindle. Okay, they're that medium. Another thing that I'd like to say is that you're talking about how that, you know, women are somewhat influenced in many ways. One of my students said to me that she wanted to go on the pill, but her doctor said no because she should be making kids. Another thing about equality in the workplace, I am proud to say that I had the shortest interview of my career just a few days ago. It lasted 5 minutes because, and it was online, and they turned on the camera and they said, are you a male? I sent my resume, my CV, and I got an interview, and they just said, oh, we thought you misspelt your name and you might have been Andrea. We are looking for a female. See you later. So, yeah.
Well, that's kind of a reverse discrimination.
No, but actually I didn't read the posting. It said, I can be Andrea. I can be Andrea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put on the wig. Yep.
Yep. Put on the wig.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like to dress up.
You should have just turned off your camera and just put on a high-pitched voice, maybe. No.
No, but if they put that, so now the lesson is really read it.
Yeah.
Read the job.
Yeah. Read
it
very
twice.
carefully.
Read it. It's like, you know, measure it 3 times, cut once, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
The other thing about the autism, you said that one of your friends or something has an autistic child.
Yeah.
Well, my friend also has an autistic child, and completely stigmatized the whole thing, couldn't go to regular school. They opted to send the kid to Fiji and came back with and entered a national university. So that, you know.
Yeah, I'm not surprised to hear that. One of my friends, and one of the things that, you know, as parents we face, and I face this as well, is that when the child is acting out, as my daughter was when she first came, and it was the testing period, and it was normal for her to act out. She was acting out at school, and the special education teacher, who, by the way, does not necessarily get training in this kind of thing, accused us of not loving her enough, not showing her enough love. And I was like, dude, if I could get anywhere near her, I'd like to hug her. She screams and pushes me away. You know, she had some trauma or abuse or something in her past. We're not going to get close to her. And you need to know this. This is not uncommon. And I heard this story many times. And one of my friends, she ended up taking her daughter, when she take her daughter to the hospital, they would be like, well, what did you do to her? Like it was like the parents' fault. So she ended up sending her daughter overseas. She's originally American, so her daughter could do some schooling and get some help in America. So sometimes you're going to get the help and sometimes you're not. Now, here in Niigata, not Nagasaki, I went to a foster parent training program, which was awesome. But the thing was, because I could access so many resources in English, I knew a lot of the stuff already. I was already learning it, but it was new for the Japanese parents. You know, like a lot of kids who ended up being placed with a foster family ended up going back to the institution because the parents didn't know how to parent them. And they didn't know that the kids go through this testing, like they knew there was a testing phase, but they didn't know how to handle it and how to get through it, and that it would end. You know, they couldn't wait for it to end. So they would send the kids back. And about 25% of kids are sent back.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
Got a couple of comments. Sorry, Andrew, just got a couple of comments I want to cover in the live
Yeah.
stream. So going back to a little bit before, I think, Melodie, Sam Kawakami says, there are quite a few schools who are now hiring women over men in an effort to have more diversity. Second comment from Adam Jenkins came up just now. Sometimes not hugging can be an expression of respect too. Hugs are not universally healing.
That's true. But, you know, for children, I mean, I couldn't get close. I couldn't talk to her. And it was the same with my son. When he first came to us, we went through a stage where he wouldn't speak. He would, like, we didn't know if he could speak because he wouldn't. And then when he could speak, he would say things to me like, don't look at me, don't touch me. Like it was awful. And that lasted about 6 months. And I thought, yeah, I mean, I was thinking, if this lasts any longer, I'm bailing. I can't raise this child. This is awful.
Mm-hmm.
But he had to go through that. And I had to go through that. And then, you know, we got through it. We got over it.
That was coming from a psychology of just
Yeah.
a need to adjust to the situation.
Yes, yes. And the kids test because they want to see, can you handle it? Or are you going to reject me and break my heart and I'm going to go through trauma again? Yeah. And I watched some really good videos about this. Of course, I don't remember the names of them. I think one was called Rehomed, and the other one was Remember My Story. And it's about a young girl being removed from her abusive family and going through all these things. And I learned such good lessons. Like one of them is, you can't heal someone else as a parent. You can have empathy and you can try and create the best environment, but these kids have to go through their own healing process. They're going to go up and down, you know, they have a hole in there and we can't heal it. And that was really important to me because I felt like I was putting so much pressure on myself that I had to solve this for these children, and I couldn't. And that was really important.
You're eliciting a lot of comments on this issue, Melodie. Chuki comes in and she says, I think this is about maybe 2 or 3 minutes ago. That sounds like common issues with children, followed by Sam Kawakami, who then says, they want to know that you're going to keep them before they let you in.
Yep.
Then followed by Chuki again. And she says, I feel my kid constantly tests me too.
Yep. But I think it's like a different kind of preparation for parenting. And sometimes I don't know what is the normal kid thing and what is the traumatized kid thing. But now I think, you know, I don't treat my kids like they're traumatized now because they're both chill and they're both comfortable. They're both happy to be alone. They're not needy. In fact, they're both teenagers now. They're in their bedrooms doing their own thing respectively.
Being teenagers, yeah.
Being teenagers, yeah.
I think I want to see
Eating all the food.
I want to see your face on the recording when I read this out to you. Chuki comes in with another comment. She says,
Okay.
Your kids are so lucky to have you as a mom.
Thank you.
There you go. See, I
don't know if they would agree, but thank you.
No, I'm sure we all feel that way. And anyone who any mom does a great job, and I think they should all be celebrated. But right now we're celebrating you.
Well, I think that what was helpful for me is, you know, I was much older when I decided to go on this journey. I was 42 when we started the process. I was 45 when my son came, and I was almost 50 when my daughter came. So, you know, these were conscious choices. And also I could put all my ability to research. You know, I ordered a ton of books and read them and learned. I went to the classes on parenting. And so, and I did, you know, writing those pieces was very therapeutic. The pieces
The
I
Savvy
wrote for
Tokyo?
Savvy Tokyo,
Mhm.
it was very therapeutic because then I could get it out of my head and I could look at it objectively and think about it. Yeah.
Carmen, you are not coming over the microphone. Oh dear. Why don't take out your
Thing.
take out your headset? Maybe your internal mic will work. Nope, getting nothing.
No.
Oh dear. Oh
You'll
dear.
have to type it out.
Jose, can I make a
Go.
change of topic here a bit? Sorry.
Sure.
So okay, Jose. So you and I are from the same hometown. I think we're both from Vancouver, right?
That's right. Yep.
Yeah. And you made the comment about in Canada, you can't imagine how that you know, foreigners are singled out, much like that Finnish Japanese politician.
In that way, yes.
In that way. Well, my university wants me to make a presentation with the title. Now, I don't know what it is in Japanese. I'm sorry, my Japanese is, I forget the term. They want me to talk about, make a presentation with the theme, coexisting in a multicultural society. And
you mean Canada?
Talking about Japan?
No, Japan.
All right.
And the funny thing is that they had this, you know, they gave me a brochure, and not only did it have faces, you know, of different people from different ethnic backgrounds and things like that, but they also had like physically challenged, mentally challenged. I'm going like, and then they said that we're all equal, you know, in that way. And I'm going like, okay. And they just said, what do you think about how can we coexist in a multicultural society? And I said, Canada, we don't think about that. You know, it's like, you know, you land in Vancouver Airport, and I have Japanese friends, well, people that I know that have landed in Vancouver Airport and go, who's Canadian? You know, I mean, it's like, anyways, that's different topic. My comment, it's mind-boggling.
I get that completely. Yeah. Melodie, do you want to comment?
I'm just shocked.
I'm not shocked because I'm seeing similar things at my university. My university has sort of a pet topic, or one of my universities has a pet topic that they're pursuing right now. And sometimes in my mind, I don't want to go into too many details about it because I just want to go from where Andrew was saying. But oh, there you are, Carmen. Is that you speaking?
Yes.
You are good. Okay, good. Then you can say it directly. But just to finish off, what Andrew was saying, the idea that the university suddenly has this topic on their mind and they want to make it seem as if they're like pushing the envelope in terms of accessibility and stuff like that. But I think for any society or any situation, you sort of first have to accept the fact that there are blemishes in the situation before you start saying, oh, here's the ideal and we want to prop up the ideal.
It sounds like
First, admit
PR.
that.
It sounds like
Yeah,
a PR.
it sounds like PR. Yeah.
Yeah.
Carmen, so nice to have you with us. Do tell us what you wanted to say.
Thanks. Yeah, so I was gonna ask Melodie that she mentioned reading a lot of parenting books, and I'm really too lazy for that. There are so many books going on, and I'm about to have a kid in July, and my thank you, husband's American. He's also mixed race. He's like white and Hispanic, and growing up in, I don't know, like experience of having a kid in Japan and all that, all like that book looks useful. Yeah, I was wondering like how much you learned from those books.
Well, I was looking at specifically books for parenting adoptive and foster kids, because things like my son he'd kill me if he knew I was telling this publicly, but he wet the bed until he was about 12 or 13. And that's not uncommon. At first, my husband and I were really worried about it. And then I read about it and it said, this is a common thing among adopted children. And I thought, oh, okay, cool. So we taught my son, okay, this happens. Just take the sheets and put them in the washing machine and we'll start it. Don't worry about it. We'll just change the sheets. Here's some spray this, wipe it up, and yeah. And then he got through it. So I was looking for, you know, specific information for specific kinds of kids. Yeah. So, you know, and I needed it. I needed it. I didn't have the knowledge, so I had to read about it. Yeah.
Just want to mention, Carmen, if you're wondering, I muted you just because there was a little bit of background noise coming over your microphone, but if you want to open up the microphone, and I don't know if you want to do a follow-up or want to ask Melodie anything else.
Yeah, that's all right. I'll mute after I stop talking.
Yeah,
So,
okay. Great, thank you.
Yeah, I was also thinking like having mentors and support from people who have older children and people, of course, around the same age, that's useful for sure. But how do you juggle everything you're doing, like work and motherhood and everything?
My husband is awesome. Tatsuro, he does the bulk of the childcare, to be honest. He does all the paperwork and stuff like that. He drives, he not anymore because the kids are in high school, but he drove the kids to their sports things. He did the weekend stuff. He did the PTA. So he did that stuff. Yeah. And if we were, I mean, if we had decided to go on this journey in Canada, I would have been doing that stuff. But it's just, he did the stuff he could do. I also don't drive. So he did the stuff that he can do, and I do the stuff that I can do. So yeah, if it weren't for him, you know, he makes my life a lot easier. Yeah.
So it's really teamwork. I also see what Paul types in the chat about.
It's amazing teamwork. Yeah.
Yeah. You got to have that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of the resentment you hear about how in Japanese marriages, once the nest is empty, that the divorce rate just skyrockets, and I think that's got to have a lot to do with the fact that the woman in the relationship just has been sort of taking it on the chin until the kids go out for university or for their jobs, just because that's the last goal that she has. But probably there's got to be some resentment in there about what Japanese husbands or some husbands don't do in a household.
Yeah. Well, my husband, I mean, one of the reasons I learned early on when I met him that he could take care of himself. He wasn't going to be another child, although he acts like one sometimes, but he's ganko as all get out. But I, you know, we're this is definitely a partnership, and we went through a lot with my foster daughter. We both were suffering. And I think it brought us together because every Wednesday for a while, every Wednesday when in the afternoon, I had no classes and he wasn't working at his current job. And we would go and pick up a coffee and go to the beach and walk and talk about how we felt. And it really brought us closer. Like they say, you know, I mean, we weren't trying to save our marriage, but they say don't have a kid to save a marriage. That was not what we were doing. But I have to say that because we were both, you know, struggling and suffering, that we could talk about it together, and it brought us a lot closer. And then that was a beautiful thing, I think. Yeah.
Three comments in a row from mums in the live stream audience. So I'll just bring you here. So Chiyuki Yanase says, bringing up a kid needs some learning, but the best thing I did was to observe and listen to my kid.
Yeah.
Samantha Kawakami says, awesome husbands are a huge thing, but you just keep moving forward and doing what you've got to do. Alex Burke comes in and says, my husband made being at home when the kids came home a priority. We share the cooking and housework. He often does more of it. And Chiyuki, I think, was commenting on how you were taking walks on the beach with your husband, Melodie. Chiyuki comments, what a great story of partnership.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Couldn't have done it. Wouldn't have done it. Wouldn't have gone on the journey without him. Yeah.
You should have got your fiance to watch this episode with you, Carmen. Then he'd be sort of like twiddling his thumbs, looking off to the side as we were telling him, like, this is what we expect. This is what you should be doing.
But it's easy, and the kids, like, you know, I've heard of, you know, some moms who don't ask of anything of their kids, and my husband and I both grew up having to contribute because both my parents worked. And his parents were farmers and they were super busy too. So, you know, our kids too, they know how to do laundry, they know how to cook, they know how to wash dishes, they have chores that they have to do. So, you know, we're making them grow up to be independent. Yeah, so it won't be such a big shock when they go out to live on their own.
No, right.
Our values are the same. Yeah.
Let's see. Paul writes, Carmen, there was a research project done a while back comparing all the different advice given in parenting books. And basically the conclusion was that it was all conflicting advice and information. Okay, well, that makes things clear.
There
Okay.
you go.
Yeah, there's
Well,
so basically just listen to Melody. If it's all
well,
going to conflict
no,
anyway,
no,
stick
no,
with the
no.
one, right?
But actually, someone said earlier, follow the kids, and I agree with that completely. And I think, you know,
That was cheeky.
we were talking about this last night in the OTJ social, and I came into parenting late, and I didn't have because I didn't give birth to these children, I didn't have that hormonal thing happen. I don't even know what that feels like. And I've always accepted my kids as individuals in their own right because of that, I think. You know, I don't see them as extensions of myself. I see them as individuals in their own right. And it's actually just easier to follow them. You know, well, I figured out things, you know, when my son was young, and the goal is for him to eat the dinner. So I would give him choices, which is like, do you want the tubular shaped pasta? Do you want the straight pasta, or do you want the curly pasta? You know, the goal is we're going to have pasta for dinner. Which one do you like? You know, and that gave him a lot of choices because he had never had a lot of choices in his life.
There's a great passage in the book The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. Have you ever read it?
No.
Okay, that's okay. Number one, that is one of the most beautiful books of poetry I've ever read. But there's
that is the kids are go through you, right?
That's right. Yeah, your kids are not you.
I know that.
Yeah,
yes, I know that part. Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
that's that. I was about to say that's basically what you just said, and he made it very famous in that book.
Yeah, I agree.
So to anyone else, Andrew, David, Paul, we're starting to run a little close to our finishing time. Have you got anything else that you want to throw out there to discuss or to comment? Anybody else? It's your last chance to come into the Zoom room. I'll put the Zoom address for one more chance.
There is one thing that we didn't talk about that was on the advertising, which was the drumming.
So, right.
Can I talk about the drumming?
Yeah, go ahead.
Why? Well, why? Well, I always wanted to be a drummer, but when I was growing up in Canada, girls didn't do that. Oh, thank you, Paul. Yes, girls didn't do that. They did not drum. So I played the flute because it was light and I could carry it down the hill and up the hill to school. But I always wanted to be a kit drummer. I did Japanese drumming, wadaiko. When I first came to Kyoto, there were teachers that taught us wadaiko and I learned it. And then when I went back to Canada for 4 years, I joined, there's a group called Ottawa Taiko. And that's Ottawa is my hometown and it's pronounced Ottawa in katakana.
Is that what it is?
Yes. And so, but they use the kanji for sound and harmony. And nice. I joined that group for 4 years and I played in the performance group and we were playing every week and it was fantastic and fun, but it's tiring. And then I wanted to do kit drumming and I tried it a little bit in Miyazaki when I lived there, but I didn't really like the teacher's way of teaching. And then I put it off. And then I joined a band a few years ago and I was taking the pieces from the drums and I was playing it Japanese style. I thought I should just leave all the parts of the drum together in the kit and learn how to play the kit. And I was kind of self-teaching myself and that was getting me just only so far. And so I decided to start taking lessons. I just started in the last month taking lessons with a professional teacher. And it is so awesome. And I figure, you know, I realized that this is going to be I'm calling it my dementia prevention plan, because you have to have all your limbs, your arms and your legs are doing different things at the same time. And it is fantastic. That's why I'm doing it. And actually, on Friday, it's going to be the first time I met my bandmates in 2 years since COVID. And we're going to jam, and I will be better than I was.
Wait a minute, you haven't mentioned the fact that you were ever in a band.
Oh, yeah. It's 3 guys and myself. We're all of an age, a certain age, I guess, old. We have a bassist, he's our leader, and rhythm guitarist and keyboard. And we're very eclectic. We have some of our own weird little songs. And then we're doing some T-Rex and some Stranglers. And yeah.
What were you in the band before you started taking up drumming? The vocalist?
No, I was drumming.
You were always drumming?
From the beginning, yeah. But I was doing it Japanese style.
Oh, okay.
So I take a couple of the toms and a cymbal and the snare, and I'd move them out in front of the kit. So I was with everybody. And that was kind of fun. And we played all kinds of different stuff. But I thought, no, I should really learn how to play the kit.
So I'm looking forward to checking out one of your gigs and you sitting at your drum kit.
Yeah.
With your head turned to the side like Don Henley when he would sing while he was drumming.
Singing. No, it's too much to do. I tried doing it. The song has to be super slow. So yeah. So
I always wondered how drummers and bassists can sing while they play their
I think you learn how to play the song so it's automatic and you don't have to think about it. And then you can start singing it. Yeah.
More power to you.
Thank you.
I admire anybody who can play an instrument, much less.
It's really fun. Well. And it's like, yeah, I get a lot of joy from it. Last night I was playing along to Rebel Rebel, and that was so fun. So yeah, I'm playing songs that I like.
Good.
And yeah. Thank you for coming, people who are leaving.
Yeah, people who are leaving. Okay, before everybody leaves, I just want to say a couple things. First, if anybody is still here, Dave is still here, Andrew is still here. Can we turn on our cameras, please? I know that Zoom will actually cut out a lot of the applause that we do, but at least if Melodie can actually see us applauding, I think that would be wonderful. And if you do want to open up your microphone and applaud, I would suggest that you do. David must be washing the dishes or something. Anyway, a round of applause from Melodie. Wherever you are, if you're in the live stream or wherever else. And thanks, Mel. I think it's good to get not just diverse opinions out there, but from somebody who has been there and done all of that as you have. Doing all of that is a really great thing, and getting it out there to people, especially with the kind of honesty that you have when you speak and the kind of experience that you have when you speak. It's rare. So thank you for coming to OTJtv.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're very welcome. Really before we go, I just want to tell everyone who's coming up next in a couple of weeks. We're going back to our old schedule of first and second Saturday. I'm looking forward to this one, as I did this morning, because Eric Hagley is going to be talking about the International Virtual Exchange. And for those of you who don't know, I think at first you should tune in and find out about it, but it's actually fairly successful with universities and high schools participating from Singapore, from Latin America, from Taiwan, to get kids to start talking to each other, either live on Zoom or Skype, or in forums and exchanges of videos and exchanges of MP3s and music. Kids playing music, kids playing songs to each other, singing songs to each other. And I'm really looking forward to finding out the details of it and how it's done, and exactly how Eric got to doing it. Please join us again, everyone, if you can. Mel, final word?
Thank you.
That's two
music.
Words. Okay, there you go. That's right. Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Go.
I just said enjoy life.
Okay, that's a good one. Yes, enjoy life. Do not cancel life. Enjoy life. Life is short. So there you are. Thank you, everyone. Join us in a couple of weeks for Eric Hagley. Have a good Saturday. Thank you, everyone. Big wave to the camera, everybody. Bye. I got to turn off the live stream. Oh, there she goes.